G'day, I'm Pete, the Aussie Bush Cop. In 2012 I retired from the New South Wales Police and moved to beautiful King Island, where I become a homesteader. I'd like to share with you some of my stories of crime and criminals from up there. G'day everyone, thanks so much for joining me again. I've really been enjoying bringing these stories to you and reading the comments. It's been an interesting process for me to do that, to actually get these stories out and then to hear what other people think about them. I found it quite edifying to read what you say, because in a sense it's like getting another aspect of what it was like to be in the police. Because when you're in it, of course, you can't see anything else other than that, and it becomes almost like you almost think that everything's poisoned. And by uprooting ourselves and coming down here to King Island and becoming homesteader, and then having another view of what it was like to be in the cops has been really, really interesting and very, very helpful. So thanks for all your attention in watching these podcasts and commenting. I really, really appreciate it. The story I have for you today is two stories, but curiously enough linked by a particular thing, and that is a hole in the wall. The first one that I'll share with you, I was called to a home where a couple that were probably I'd say they were in their 40s, had recently split up. And it was the wife that told the husband that he was no longer wanted there. And they were living in a modest sort of a home. And so we were called there, nothing to do with them splitting up. But we were called to her home because she'd found a hole in her wall. And the home was a typical Australian construction of, it's called brick veneer with gyprock lining inside. I think in America they might call it drywalling, I think it might be. But it was just a brick house, and in the bricks from the outside, someone had drilled a hole, and then continued to drilling through the cavity between the brick and the gyprock, and into the gyprock. And I think how the lady discovered it was maybe there was something in the way, or there was something that was blocking her view of it. I'm not sure whether she'd moved furniture or a curtain or something, but anyway, we were called, and she was clearly concerned about someone had drilled a hole in the wall, and the hole would have been, I'll show my age here by saying about 3/8 of an inch in diameter, which is a pretty big, say about 12 or 13 mil, something like that. But in the hole had been placed a piece of plastic tube that went from the exterior to right through to the interior of the home. That's an odd thing to find. So I went and looked at it, and I could tell from the dust through drilling through the brick that it was all very fresh, and in my view it would have been done within just a few days, perhaps less. And, so I think maybe I said to her, well, what's going on here? And she said, well, I've recently split up from my husband, and he's not happy about the separation. And she told me that he was, I can't remember what adjectives she used, but going on my memory, it was something like a little bit creepy, or there was something that was rather untoward about his demeanour, especially in relation to the separation. And of course, very hard to prove anything, or very hard to prove that he'd done it, if indeed he had done it, that it was anything criminal. I mean, it was a privately owned home, so he half still owned the home, so he can do whatever he wants, really. So it was an odd sort of thing to come across, and whilst I was there, he actually showed up. Now, whether he saw our paddy wagon out the front and thought I'd better see what's going on, and pulled up out of what you might say gentlemanly interest in his wife, but I doubt it. Anyway, he arrived, and you might say that I had a private word with him, because in my mind, and certainly in the mind of his wife, he was the prime suspect. And I attached to this act something potentially very sinister. And what I mean by that is it was a way of passing some sort of gas into the house. And, and doing that surreptitiously, without opening a door or cracking a window or breaking a window. That's what I feared that might happen to her, that he might gas her, that he might pump who knows what in there, carbon monoxide gas, LPG gas, who knows, and then, especially if it was the latter, and then detonate it somehow. So, who knows, maybe she discovered something that was on the cusp of something extremely dangerous. Anyway, when he pulled up out the front, I walked down the driveway and I gave him my thoughts on the matter, which included, mate, just leave her alone. I don't care, I'm not interested in why your marriage has failed, but do not, if you're responsible for this, do not persist in anything, because we now know. And it perhaps did the trick, because I didn't ever hear from either of them again. Now, the second story about a hole in the wall is even perhaps a bit creepier. I went to, when police execute a search warrant, there's people that are designated with certain jobs within to perform whilst executing the search warrant. And one of them is an observer, someone who is there just to observe and make sure everything is that needs to be done gets done, like from a legal point of view. Another one is a videotape operator, and then everyone else, and that might mean just one or two other people, other police, actually conduct the search. Now, when police seek a search warrant, that's you get a search warrant from a justice, whether that might be a magistrate or a judge. And you put information before that magistrate or judge, and he or she agrees with you that there is enough information that you have to warrant what you might say breaching or going against their normal, not allowing someone to enter their property without their permission. But part of the information is that if you're looking for, let's make it a bit ridiculous, say a field cannon, you can't go looking in their bedside table. You can only look for something that will actually fit inside, let's call it that receptacle. So anyway, this particular matter that was being investigated had to do with child sex offences. And part of what was being searched for was a baton. Now, a baton, that police carry is, a rather large thing, and the information that we had was that he had a baton, and you had to own a baton. It's a restricted item. No one is just allowed to own a baton, and you have to have permission or a proper approval to own a baton. Anyway, so we found the baton where we were told it was. But part of the other information, because of course before you go and execute the warrant, there is a briefing of all the police involved, and we're told what we're looking for and maybe other pertinent information. But part of it was that his wife, who was a husband and wife, lived in his home, that she had found a hole through an internal wall in the house, and the hole went from the toilet room, which was right next to the bathroom, and in the toilet, I know Americans don't like using that word; they say bathroom, but in Australia we just call it the toilet, where the toilet is. And so it's right next to the bathroom. And so and she told us that in the toilet there was a hole that had been drilled through the wall into the bathroom, and the hole exited just underneath, in the shower recess, just underneath the soap dish, which was mounted on the wall, underneath the shower head. And he was doing that to spy on her whilst she was having a shower. So there's a fair bit of voyeurism involved here. And one of the things I'd learnt over my time in executing search warrants is to not say anything unless you absolutely have to say something, simply because eventually you are going to have to provide a statement about everything that happened and everything you said. And if you talk a lot during a search warrant, then you've got a really long statement to listen to. You've got to listen to the search warrant audio and then type up your statement. Anyway, I got into the habit of not saying very much at these search warrants unless I had to. But I noted that the person that was executing the warrant, the one that got the officer in charge, was about to round up the warrant and I realised they hadn't investigated this hole in the wall. And there's two offences. One of them's lewdness, and one's called there's another offence of peeping and prying. And I'm not sure which offence this possibly alluded to, but it was one of them. And anyway, I spoke up and I said to the officer in charge, I said, hang on, we haven't looked at this other offence of the hole in the wall. Oh, okay. So then, because there's another offence, possible offence, that's going to be disclosed, you are required to then say to the suspect, to give them the normal warning, I'm going to ask you to do certain things and ask you certain questions, and you don't have to do it, the line, unless you want to do so. So I gave him the caution, the official caution, before saying to him, because this man, I'm not going to say which way it is, but this man was of a particularly unusual height. And I thought, well, how am I going to prove, or how is anyone going to prove or have any corroborating evidence that this hole was made by him? And so I asked him, and of course he didn't have to comply, but he did. I said, mate, go and stand over there next to that hole. And lo and behold, no pun intended, it lined up perfectly with his eye. And I can tell you that people that commit those kinds of offences have a particular feeling about them, very unsettling, and I've dealt with them a few times, and I'll probably tell you a story in another podcast about other occasions of dealing with such people, but there's something almost tangible about them. Anyway, I don't know what happened. I wasn't the OIC. It was up to him to decide what charges he was going to lay, and I don't have any further information as to what happened. But anyway, it was an interesting search warrant. Two stories about holes in the wall. Thanks for watching. See you next time.